There is a village in Kazakhstan where people simply switch off. Not as a metaphor, not as an exaggeration. They are standing, talking, working, and then they drop, asleep, for hours, for days, sometimes for more than a week straight. And when they wake up, they are not the same. This is Kalachi, and what happened there is real. Kalachi is a small village in northern Kazakhstan, in the middle of a vast, desolate steppe, one of those towns the world forgot, built during the Soviet era to serve a nearby uranium mine, then abandoned to its own fate when the Soviet Union collapsed. What remained were little more than 600 people, crumbling houses, broken roads, and that kind of heavy silence that only exists in places where hope left a long time ago. It was in this setting, in 2010, that the first cases began. Viktor Kazakov was walking toward his greenhouse when he simply shut down. There was no warning, no gradual dizziness. He just fell, as if someone had removed the battery from his body, and lay there, breathing, but completely unconscious, for 2 full days. When he woke up in the hospital, Viktor didn't know what day it was. He didn't recognize the doctor. He stared at the walls for hours with that look that the residents of Kalachi would soon learn to dread, vacant, absent, as if part of him was still somewhere between sleep and the waking world. But Viktor's case was only the first. In the months that followed, other residents began to collapse. Children in classrooms, women at the market, men in the middle of conversations. Without warning, without apparent pattern, just the sudden drop and that deep, unshakable sleep. Local doctors didn't know what to do. Basic tests showed nothing abnormal. Normal blood pressure, normal heartbeat, normal temperature. From a clinical standpoint, these people were simply sleeping. But it was not normal sleep. Those who tried to wake them during an episode reported something disturbing. The bodies responded to physical stimuli in bizarre ways. Some murmured nonsensical words. Others smiled strangely as if they were witnessing something deeply satisfying on the other side. One woman, according to witnesses, sat up in bed mid-episode, opened her eyes completely white, no visible pupils, and then lay back down without saying a word. But the worst part was not the sleep itself. It was what came after. When the affected residents woke up, a significant number reported hallucinations during their unconscious period. Not ordinary dreams, visions, intense, vivid, terrifying. Some described horses galloping through the hospital walls. Others spoke of creatures crawling across the ceiling. An 8-year-old girl woke up screaming that the smoke men were trying to take her back. Beyond the hallucinations, several patients showed permanent behavioral changes. Calm people became aggressive. Reserved men began displaying sexually inappropriate behavior. Children developed paralyzing fears of places that had never bothered them before, as if the sleep had rewritten something inside them. News began to leak beyond the village. Journalists arrived, TV cameras showed up, and with them came the widest range of theories imaginable. Gas poisoning, radiation from the abandoned uranium mine, fungus in the walls of old buildings, conspiracies from the Kazakh government, forgotten Soviet experiments somehow reactivated. Kazakh authorities sent scientific teams. They collected samples of soil, water, and air. They tested the affected residents for dozens of substances, and for years, they found nothing conclusive. Meanwhile, in Kalachi, life had become unbearable. No one knew when they would be next. Mothers sent their children to school without knowing if they'd come home walking or carried. Men refused to work alone, afraid of collapsing somewhere no one would find them in time. Some residents began to leave, abandoning their homes, their belongings, years of their lives, just to escape that invisible and silent threat. Then, in 2015, a team of researchers announced they had found the cause: carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons, seeping from the abandoned uranium mine near the village. Under certain weather conditions, especially when wind direction shifted and atmospheric pressure dropped, these gases accumulated in concentrations high enough to cause mild cerebral hypoxia, a slight deprivation of oxygen to the brain, enough to induce prolonged unconsciousness and hallucinations. The government's proposed solution was simple:
relocate the residents, offer housing in other cities, empty Kalachi. And that is what happened. By 2016, the last residents had been removed. The village was officially abandoned. But here begins the part that no one likes to talk about. Because the gas theory, as logical as it sounds, has serious flaws. Independent researchers who reviewed the data pointed to inconsistencies. Carbon monoxide at concentrations high enough to cause prolonged unconsciousness should also produce other measurable physical symptoms, severe headaches, intense nausea, skin reddening. But Kalachi patients rarely showed these symptoms before collapsing. And the animals, dogs, cats, horses in the area, were never affected. Gases don't choose species. Furthermore, some episodes occurred in open areas, far from the mine, on windy days, exactly the conditions under which heavy gases disperse rather than accumulate. And the permanent behavioral changes in those affected? Mild hypoxia does not rewrite personalities. It does not create new fears. It does not turn children into different people. So what really happened in Kalachi? Perhaps the most honest answer is, we don't know. The village is empty now. The houses slowly rot in the middle of the Kazakh steppe. The mine sits there, closed, sealed, supposedly. But there is something one of the residents said in an interview shortly before leaving for good that has stayed with everyone who heard it. It wasn't the sleep that scared us. It was what we saw inside it, and the feeling that it wasn't a dream, that it was real, that this world here, this is what was the dream. Sometimes the most disturbing questions are not about what makes us fall asleep. They are about what we find when we are sleeping, and whether the part of us that comes back different would rather have stayed.